12 light stopper relay code. It's pretty simple. A little bit of sight lighting here. It also switches off some of the circuits in the field house. Pretty straightforward. And then we've also got some occupancy sensors and timer switches and stuff inside the building as well. So it's pretty straightforward. So I think I'll start with the tennis court thing first, if that's all right. So in general, what we've got back inside the electrical room in this building is the tennis court lighting control brain panel.
You go walk back there to the panel right now.
Okay, I'll show you that. And then what it does, it's got some underground wiring out to a push button on the court. So when somebody walks on the court, wants to get court light, they press a button and we get lights, right? We've also got a photo cell on the roof of this building for the tennis court system. So it knows not to let the lights go on if it's bright. Okay. So it's smart. It knows if it's bright, they're not going to pop on. We've also got a clock in that thing, so you guys can set up an allowable schedule. So I think right now it's like 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. is the default. So it says, you know, if it's dark, if somebody presses a button between the hours of 6 in the morning and 10 at night, you'll get court lights, right? But at 10 o'clock at night, it'll shut them off. And you can set that time to whatever you want. Because I'm assuming, and you may want people playing all night, but right now it's about 10 p.m. it'll shut down. And if you walk out there at midnight and press the button, nothing will happen. It's dark, but the clock's not allowed. Is how that works. Both have to be true.
So you can turn the clock manually over here.
Correct. There's a way to override it and all that. I'll show you that. Then, now what they've done is the electrical distribution panel for the court lights is over in that outdoor electrical yard over there behind the shopping center. Yeah, it's over there, right? So what happens is this panel is making all the decisions, and they couldn't put this brain panel out in that yard because of the heat and cold and all that, so they stuck it over here. So we just got some underground control wires running between the button and over on the yard there's a contactor panel, and there's a big multi-pole contactor that hits the whole, so the whole court, all those cords, however many circuits it is, it's one zone. And what the tennis court control panel does is it fires that contactor, and that contactor pulls in a whole bunch of whatever that is, 480, 135, to light up all the cords. And then with the timing and the smarts are in here, when it times out and decides it's time to shut down, it shuts the contactor off. Now there's also a couple of bells on the poles out there. There's one on one of the little 4-inch electric alarm bells. There's one on one of the poles on the south side. There's one over on the north side. So the way the tennis court thing works is when you press that button, you get light. Lights fire up, and they run for about an hour. And at the end of an hour, the bells sound for 1 second. The bell rings. And what that tells the players is, if you're still here, come press the button again. And then it resets that.
How long does it give you? How much?
You get another hour.
How much time does it give you to go through?
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah, you got 5 minutes. And so since those are HID fixtures, if they go out,
Yeah, it takes
you know, it's 20 minutes to start. So the bell, and on the push button station at the front, it says on that there's a little green placard next to the button, and it explains that, you know, when the bell sounds, press it again, da 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 da. And that's pretty common on tennis courts. That's how it works. So there's a couple of timers in this cabinet that manage all this. It manages the play time for an hour. It manages how long the buzzer sounds, and it manages how much time you got before you have to do this and that. And then the standard is an hour, 5 minutes, 1 second on the bell, but you can change that. And that's really it in a nutshell. But the main thing to remember is the clock doesn't turn them on in the morning. The clock says when they're allowed to, when the button will go active. So at 6 in the morning, now the button is ready, and if it's still dark, they can get light. And then as soon as the light hits, as soon as it gets bright enough, it'll drop out. There's 2 photo cells on this building. One of them is for this system, the other one's for the court lighting. It's got a little movable sleeve over the movable plate that goes over the eye. That's how you determine your bright dark. It's looking north. It ought to be fine, but if you discover it's turning on or off too bright or too dark based on sunrise sunset, you can tweak that. one more thing that now, so that's pretty much the system. Now on the front of the panel, I'll show you, there's an HOA switch. So you can, in automatic, it'll do what I just described. Press a button, blah, blah, blah. Timeout and shut down. In off mode, it's off. And maybe you're doing fireworks one night, or maybe you're doing a whatever. You don't want it to come on.
You can put them on.
Use the breaker.
Turn it off, yeah.
But off will prevent the button from working. And then there's on, which is like a hand. That gets them on, they stay on. They'll stay on forever until you turn that thing back off. So if you ever need to get them on for an event, or you want them to, there's a tournament, or you don't want the lights going off every hour, flip it into on, and it'll run. So it's a nice system, and it's flexible. Now there's one more whistle on this thing. The engineer wanted SMU to be able to remotely turn those court lights on and off from another location, either the control desk or maybe an office or who knows what. So there's a second input coming in on Ethernet into the cabinet. It talks to my time clock. And if you go in on that Ethernet connection into that clock and turn it on, it's the same thing as the hand control. It forces it on. And so if they want to use that, that is an option, and it's built in. And whenever they get an IP address assigned for us or whatever, somebody can call me and I'll walk them through how to do that. So that's really it in a nutshell. Let me go show you the panel. Yeah, any questions so far? Pretty straightforward. Okay, cool. We're inside the electrical room in the lacrosse building.
Yes, sir.
This is the tennis court lighting control panel. And on the front of it, we've got some indicators, obviously just control system power available or not coming in. The photocell light will turn on when the photocell thinks it's dark. So that's a good gauge as to what's happening. So it's off right now since we're in the middle of the day. The schedule indicates that we're within the schedule window. That's coming off channel 1 of the time clock. This light will turn on at 6 in the morning and turn off at 10 p.m. until you change it. And then I mentioned there's a remote override. If they come in remote through the Ethernet connection and force it on, this light pops on. And this will even override this. So that's your status. Now here's your HOA switch. In the right hand position in auto, it will follow this. So as long as the schedule is true and the photocell has gone dark, the push button will start it. And it will time out and it will shut off. That's when I'm in auto position. When I'm in the center position off, it shuts off. It's done. By the way, this is a status light of the status of the lighting contactors. So if I flip this thing over into on position, that light will pop on here in a second. I'll do that. Now, then if I go all the way to the left into on, it's on. And I'll do that right now. So I can tell by looking at the panel now that it's bright. I'm in schedule. The court lights are not on. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to go into on position. This light popped on, which means my contactor just pulled in. Over on the court. Right. Now, as long as the breakers are on, then you'll have lights on the court. So, as long as that's all true. Now, I'm going to shut this back off, back into auto. Now, you shouldn't ever really need to get in here, but what's inside here is 4 little intelligent timers with different settings. But the things I talked about, all that's in the O&Ms, and it talks about what's what. But it has to do with play time, alarm time, and then duration before the alarm, before it finally gives up and shuts the lights off. And those are all set, and that'll be on your as-built drawings. This is a 24-volt transformer. Everything's running on 24 volts, including all the connections out to the buttons and going to the other panel are all 24. There's a couple of fuses here. This is a fuse for incoming 120. There's another fuse over here for all the 24 volt.
And that's spare fuses.
And I got spare fuses, that's right. Now, this is the time clock I talked about. It's a 2-channel time clock. Channel 1 of the time clock is what determines this allowable schedule. And to get Ethernet access, the easiest way to do it is to get an Ethernet time clock, pick up a second channel, and we come in on that one to produce that override. So whenever they log in and override, what they're really doing is turning on channel 2 of the clock. And that's a direct wire right to the contactors. That's how that works. So see this on-off right here. If I press that on-off to toggle that relay, this schedule will just turn on or turn off. But you can see from the face here, it's today's date, today's time, blah, blah, blah. That's all set and run. It's backed up, so during a power failure, you shouldn't have any loss of time or anything like that. So there's no maintenance on this thing. There's no filters. You should be able to forget about it. This is the Ethernet connection coming in to the from the LAN here in the building. So that's really it. You don't need to adjust anything. It's tested. It's working. Any questions?
I was just curious about something. If you, okay, you were just saying blah blah, it'll override. Okay, say this right here. You turn this into on because you want the lights on.
On, right.
Can they do it? It overrides this, right? They cannot come say over controls or whatever. Say, oh, the lights are on. We'll turn them off.
Correct. That's a good point. If either one of these is overridden, it's overridden. That's right. Either
So
one.
if I turned it, or we turned this to on, the plant or whoever cannot go in the computer
Correct.
and override what we just did.
Correct. That's exactly right. Good point. Good point.
They'll do that every time.
I hear you. Yeah, you're right. This needs to be in off or auto for that
to work.
right.
Cool.
To do its thing. Well, actually, it still works. It just piles on top.
And then vice versa, if they have it on remote,
then it's on no matter what.
right, we can't just turn this off and
Correct.
turn their system off.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Self-face on both sides.
That's exactly right. Okay. So any questions on the tennis court? All right. I think maybe while I'm in here, I'll go ahead and talk about. It's okay with you. Go ahead and talk about, since we're here, talk about the relay panel,
Absolutely.
and then we're done in this room.
Good deal.
Typos here.
What's that?
Yeah. It's right.
Okay.
Ah, it's okay. Well, we got it all on video and everything too, so year or two from now, if you want to refer back to what somebody said, it'll be all here and ready, on video for you.
Okay. I'll talk now about the relay panel that controls the lighting inside the building, the lacrosse field building, I guess, and also a couple of site lighting circuits as well. Pretty standard watt stopper relay panel. You're probably familiar with these. There's some high voltage relays down the left and right hand sides, and then we have a power supply transformer right here that's fed with a hot circuit. And when this transformer is powered up, it powers up the electronics inside the panel. And notice here I've got these 12 indicator lights where you can manually actuate a relay on or off with these buttons. Then in the door here is a relay panel schedule that tells you what is assigned to each relay. And notice there's really only about 6 or 7 relays in use on this panel. A couple of the relays feed miscellaneous branch circuits going into the building. On many of those circuits there are occupancy sensors or timer switches, so these never need to be turned off because it'll be managed in there. Probably the only thing that will get turned off right now is the corridor lighting and the canopy lighting, because that's more or less outside lighting, and we've got that on the schedule right now. I'll talk about that in a second. And then the other thing that we have is down in the bottom here, behind this bottom section, are a couple of 4-pole contactors, and we're using those to drive the site light, the pole lighting along the street, site lighting. In fact, that's really it too.
Yeah.
A couple circuits of pole lighting. And what we do is right here, relays number 2 and 4. Well, is it okay if I pull in those contactors?
Yeah.
Okay. Notice if I turn on relay 4, pulls in a contactor, fires the street lights. So this panel also has a photocell on the roof. We have 2 photocells up there, one for tennis, one for relay, 2 separate systems. That photocell comes back into the system, and it's programmed to automatically turn on those site lighting circuits at sunset or at dark, whenever dark is. And then it's programmed to turn them back off whenever it gets bright again. And so as of right now, those lights should be turning on automatically in the evening and turning back off in the morning. So the street lights are running all night. This panel has within it, built inside of the electronics, a time clock, and you can create schedules and groups, and you can program it to do all kinds of stuff on its own. There's no connection to the outside world on this panel. It's all self-contained, and the clock is right inside this thing. There's a little handheld tool that's used to get in and talk to it through an infrared link to go in and set up schedules and set up groups and set up times. As of right now, I think I have those corridor and breezeway lights running the same thing, 6 in the morning till 10 at night, something like that. So they're not running all night. So
Every day?
Every day, 365, right? So if as you go forward, if you want to change any of that, let us know, and we can talk you through how to change the programming, or if you set up schedules.
I got the control for this panel. You want to show them how to?
The little tool. I can show you what it looks like. Yeah, and then your as-built will have step-by-step instructions of exactly how to go through and set or change anything. You're welcome to call us. Also, your O&Ms will have a documentation of what the schedules are, what the groups are, and the relay definitions. But the bottom line here is that this panel will sit here, and it will listen for the photocell, and it will turn on and off the street lights, and then it will also fire off a schedule to turn on these building lights. And if you want to go back and link those to the photocell, you can. Bottom line is it's flexible, it's programmable. You know, we took our best shot at what we thought you might want.
Hot water heater,
And if it needs to be something else, this baby's really flexible. Okay, you can change it. As far as troubleshooting and maintenance, there's no maintenance to do on it. If you're ever having any problems, you can come in here and turn a relay on or off right here by pressing these buttons to actuate them. Things to look for, you know, do you have lights? Is the main feed circuit powered up? That sort of thing. The other thing that can happen is if you trip a breaker on a particular branch, your relay will work, but your branch, nothing's coming through it, that kind of deal. You know, the only moving parts are the relays, so over the long haul, probably it's just going to be a relay dialing you
I think I replaced it.
down the road. So, and then we have these little ferrite filters on these relay control wires to keep noise from inducing back on the board. So if you ever change out a relay, you can pop that. You can pop this ferrite coil off, put the new cord on. You can also just unplug this control wire from the relay, change the relay, and plug it back on. That's about as easy as well.
I was wondering what that.
Yeah, that was a noise reduction issue.
Yeah.
They've got some new generation boards coming out that'll do it on the board. One more thing about these relays, it's quite nice. If you have a worst case scenario and something dies and the panel's stone dead, you got relays that are turned off. There's a little white mechanical actuator on the relay. So you can get in there with a flag head and slide that cord in and pull the relay in and mechanically held. So you can turn them on and off even if the panel's dead. So that's a good thing. Good thing to
Yeah.
And then on your contactors, as long as you've got a control circuit, these are electrically held contactors, so there's no way to hold them in, but if you've got a control circuit, it'll pull it in and hold it. This is the tool, we call this the LMCT. It's a little handheld programming tool, menu driven with buttons on it. And again, it comes, your O&Ms will have the instructions on how to do all this. This is the tool that you can use. It's got an infrared sender on it. You can press and point and go through menus, call up the clock, and that's where I told it what the day and the date and the longitude and the schedules and the groups and all that. So that's all been pre-programmed and ready to go. You shouldn't have to do anything to it unless you want to change something. So I'll leave that. You want me to leave it inside the panel here?
No, we're gonna turn that into
Okay.
general contractor, and they'll turn it into SMU with the contract.
Okay. So all that will be documented in your as-built and your O&Ms as to how all that works.
You want me to turn it into me now, or?
I was
wait?
gonna give it to Jeff. He just told me to give it to him.
Okay.
And if you ever need any help or whatever, you're welcome to call me or call Wattstopper, and they can walk you through and help you with it. You can also access all this information online off their website, so it's good documentation.
You can leave one of your cards or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But other than that, this is a little photocell module that receives a photocell wire, then it Cat5s onto the board. So that's really pretty much it. It's 6 or 8 relays driving branch circuits, some contactors for the site lighting. Pretty straightforward. Any questions on the panel?
What are they doing here?
Those are little group programming buttons. You can assign relays to groups, and then you can make groups
Turn on and off.
by
and then
schedule.
we'll Operate for that period of time.
Precisely. Exactly. So it has to do with the way, and these are some diagnostic lights here, but these are these can be on-off buttons or programming buttons. Just like
You
these.
do that with that right there.
You can do it with that one, and you can also, it's a combination of pressing buttons with that thing as well as pressing buttons up here.
Okay.
For example, if you define an outside group, it might be group C. You can press and hold the C button, put some relays in group C,
And then this
do that
thing
sort of
here
thing.
would be to.
That's a different configuration button. That would be only if you're going through and doing some rebooting or following some technical troubleshooting.
I wasn't bothered, but I'm just curious. That
Yeah.
way I don't.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
Separate-
I don't do something
separate
I
config
should.
button. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. And that's really it. So again, and you've got a lot of spare relays. If you ever have a relay that goes south on you, grab one of the unused spares. substitute it in and keep on going over there.
Plug it in with the same, yeah.
Plug it back into the other position and pick up those wires and away you go. So that's really it for the relay panel. Any questions on that? Okay. The next thing I'll show him is maybe a couple of wall sensors and ceiling sensors and tower switches over in the building.
Right here. That's gonna be a spare box. Those relays are coming out. Those contactors are coming out. That's just gonna be a spare box.
Oh,
And
okay.
actually, what's gonna
So
go
they're
in
coming
there?
out, yeah.
Yeah, what's gonna go in there is the lines for the scoreboards, the signal lines for
Oh,
the
okay.
scoreboards, and they're gonna splice them in there. The
So
lines.
where's the power coming from?
This is the main distribution
From
panel.
where? Where's it come
This
from?
comes from the,
Comes from the
transformer yard.
The transformer yard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that period of circuit over
Yeah, it comes into here. Then this one fits the transformer. The transformer fits the low voltage panel. It's a two-section panel. This is the first section. It's just a
J-box?
J box, a pull box. This is the first section. That's the second section. Right next to you, you got your muscle. That has been already set up with muscle.
Yeah, it's already been
It's already on
initiated.
schedule and everything.
They're waiting on, they do want to set up a schedule with this and get them a schedule for this SMU, and they program everything at their office.
Oh, okay, it's all done remotely.
Yeah, I've already talked to Jeff about that. They've been trying to get it for a while.
I'll try to track that down from Eric. Okay, yeah, I'll work with Jeff. Okay.
Now another thing, the whole building, it's either sheetrock ceilings or plaster ceilings. So there's no J-box anywhere except here. That's for the power, low voltage. This one up here is for lighting. It's not labeled, nothing's labeled yet on the boxes, but it will be before we leave the job. And there's a couple storage rooms down in the building where we have other home run boxes. I'll show them to you right now.
All those black boxes.
That's all for the door security for Siemens. All that is door security, and none of those pipes are power. Everything is either door security or data.
Where do you have the power for that?
It comes out of this box and out of that panel yet. I haven't made up the panel schedules, but sometime this next week coming up, I'm gonna do the panel schedules for these 3 panels.
Okay,
And
you
everything
got
will be there.
that panel right there is just emergency circuits inside. Does this feed off of that wired generator?
Yeah, it feeds off of here. All of those two, that's one panel, but a 2-section panel. So you got your low circuits there and then your high circuits over there. So it's a 2-section panel. But everything's 122 weight in those 2 panels.
Right, okay.
And over here you got 277 for 80.
Right, but what I'm getting at is it powered from the generator.
I'm not
Over
sure
there.
if this is on, I don't think this is on the generator.
Yeah,
Is it
nothing on the-
I don't know, I can find out.
What kind of system do you
I'll
have?
have to
Power
get a hold
goes
of
out.
I can't remember the guy's name. I'll have to get a hold of him with SMU and find out the transformer that this is fed from, if it's fed from the generator circuit. I don't think it is.
Yeah, because everything on the one line diagram just starts the transformer, right? Or
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
really, there's emergency lighting throughout the building, but
Okay.
it's fed off of this panel. And it's not emergency panel.
The reason I'm saying that, I don't think it
They're
is.
battery backup.
Just better, yeah, it's just emergency lighting, like 90 minutes, emergency ballast is all it is.
Yes.
So the ACs, stuff like that, is not fed off a generator
I don't think
I
so.
don't
or
think
anything.
No,
The UPS is nothing.
no.
No, because when we shut these transformers down to pull the wire, they ran the generator so that the fire pumps would operate. So if they're running the generator, it doesn't feed this circuit. It doesn't feed the transformer.
This
It
building.
feeds this building.
Okay.
Now that inverter, it's only for 2 lights. The 2 columns on the front entrance are gonna be fed off of that inverter. That's the only thing this inverter is gonna feed, those 2 lights. Everything else comes out of here and this
You have
relay.
277 lighting?
Yes,
Everything, all the lights are 277.
yes.
You've got 2 separate surge protection devices. The one on the right is for the main service, and this one on the left is for must go only.
Okay, that's what I'm doing.
I'll put a label on it.
Oh, okay.
That way you guys aren't guessing.
And other than that, that's about it, ain't it?
Yep.
How long does the battery last? 90 minutes?
I don't know. I haven't read on it.
Usually 90 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's usually like an emergency ballast is supposed to be 90 minutes. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You know, what size battery in there?
Hey, Or-
Birds out.
George. We'll let Watt stop. We'll let Jug just make a few comments on these sensors real quick, and we'll move on.
Yeah, just got like 2 or 3 items, and then I'll be done. Okay, I mentioned you're rolling.
Yeah, we're rolling. Okay.
Inside the building, there's a couple of occupancy sensor and timer devices for individual lighting control and automatic shut-off. Those are all downstream of the relay panel. So normally those relay circuits will just stay on all the time, and then the lighting decision gets made in the room itself. You could turn the relays off if you want to force the rooms completely dead, but there's probably no reason to do that. Now, one of the items will be a little occupancy sensor wall switch. It's called the PW100. The top of the switch is an on-off button, and if you come in and turn the lights on, the occupancy sensor will automatically time out 20 or so minutes after the person's left the room. The lights will drop out automatically. This is configurable. It can automatically turn the lights on when you first come in the room, or it can require that when you first come in, nothing happens by itself. You have to press the button. The default configuration, I believe, is manual on. So if you want the lights to automatically start in a room from the sensor, you can do that. You can take the cover off, and there's a dip switch. You can
Right now,
change the
that's
way
how they are.
automatic start. They're automatically starting. Okay, so right now, right now when you walk in a room, they automatically start from the wall sensor. But if you want to change that to manual start, that's a setting. And if that's the case, people probably won't ever touch them. They'll come in, they start, they leave, the lights shut off.
Oh, they do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
They turn them off, and then when you come back, they don't come on in. You switch it over when you turn it off.
Right. Well, now that's a good point. If you turn it off, there's a grace period there that it says I'm not going to restart as long as I still see you. Reason for that is if you're in a room and you want the lights dark, it doesn't need to be restarted. After you leave for a certain amount of time, 5 or 10 minutes, it resets back, and the next time you come in, it starts. So yeah, you can get some confusion from that. But actually, it's doing its thing. But that's called the PW100. And the next thing I want to go show you is a timer switch. A little bit different animal. This is based on occupancy. All right. The wall device we have, it's a timer switch. It's not an occupancy sensor, it's just a straight up intelligent timer switch called the TS400. And it works more or less like the old spring wound timer switches. It has a little bit more intelligence than that though. The default time delay, I believe, is 2 or 3 hours, let's see. And there's an on-off button, there's a display window. If you come in, the lights are off, you press the button, the lights will turn on to 3 hours, that is the default. And the display window will start displaying the countdown time. And so if I just walk away, 3 hours from now, these lights will shut off. So it's that 3 hour default time delay can be changed. So you can get in, and there's a procedure in the instruction manual. Take the cover off and press the button, and press the button, and you can change that default time to whatever you want. So you can set it back to 20 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever is good for you. There's also a feature that you can turn on or turn off that several minutes before it's about to turn off, it will flash the lights off and back on. And then there's another feature that you can turn on or turn off. It does a little chirping sound that will sound right before they're going to turn out. So just be aware of that. One other thing you can do, if you press and hold the button, the little display window will scroll up to different values, and you can scroll up or down. In this case, I just scrolled to a different time delay value. So if someone presses and holds, it may go to 12 hours, 2 hours, or 6 hours. The idea there would be if you're doing maintenance in a space, you could come in and get more time on a one-time basis. But once it times out and shuts off and you come back in, it goes back to the default. That's where it's a better deal than a spring wound, because you could set them all to say 20 minutes. But if you need to be in here for 4 hours working on something, you can set it, you can hold it and go to 4 for that one session. That's the idea. Notice I just reset it to 25 minutes instead of 3 hours. So you may decide in here that you would rather these be, you know, what are these, equipment cages? You know, it might be appropriate to set these for 5 minutes rather than 3 hours, but 3 hours is the default. You can always turn the lights back off whenever you want, it will stay off. Okay, we'll do ceiling sensors next, and then I'll be done.
Now, while we're in here, let me show you.
Sure.
We got other home run boxes. The 24 by 24, that's all door security. I'll put a label on it. The one next to it, that's power for receptacles. It's all home runs there. There's not that many splices on here. Basically just pull through to where they go, but we just put it here because it's the only accessible ceiling.
So you go from plastic one, or you keep one of them, or
From here, going that way, it's an open ceiling. So you got J boxes right on top of the receptacles and piped together. But yeah,
That is GFI, brother.
yeah, but that's temporary. We're gonna switch it out.
Okay.
And then on that other side, you got some more, two
And
more.
George, what did you say was happening to this one right here?
The when it rained about a month ago,
Oh, okay.
it was still the roof was still leaking, and it got water into the light,
Yeah.
and it burned the switch.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, 32 bucks. Here, you got two more home run boxes. You got one for power receptacles, and the other one's 90. And then all these junction boxes right above the doors, the ones that are lower, they're for the switches, for the light switches. But the ones up a little bit higher, they're all for door security. So you won't have to mess with those. No, no, that's for the drinking fountain.
Now here's the last example of a ceiling mounted occupancy sensor in a space. We're in the restrooms right now. And up on the ceiling in these rooms, we have some small 24-volt sensors. Right here, an ultrasonic occupancy sensor. There's another one as well on the other side of the restroom. They're wired together. They come back to a 24-volt power pack, which acts like a little power supply and relay. And then that relay puts out, is there a light switch in the restroom? Yeah. That relay then feeds to a standard toggle switch and then goes out. So the circuit's a little different. If the switch is on, then the sensors run the light. If the switch is off, the lights are out. Circuit's broken. The power packs themselves are on a relay switch leg, which means that if that relay ever turns off, this room's down. It will never turn on. So usually these aren't put on switch legs. That's why that relay will probably just stay on all the time.
Yes, they use it all the time without that.
There would be no reason to ever shut it off.
Right. No, I shouldn't be.
Unless you're closing for the,
Right.
right. So that's and we have ceiling sensors in the restrooms. George, how many other rooms do we have ceiling sensors in? Just the restrooms?
Just two restrooms.
Just the restrooms. Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be it for the controls.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a couple of camera circuits in the light pole.
Got a time clock in here and photo cell control also, but it's the way the time is right now, the time clock's turning it on and off. But if it gets darker earlier or something, the photo cell will catch it. Photo cell's right here.
And this down here, I just heard this is what it fed around this way. But
Oh, also,
where does it stop on these lights here?
okay,
Where is the stopping point? I thought you was touching on
See
it
that light
earlier.
pole right there? On the other side of the tennis court by the gate?
Uh-huh.
It catches,
By the
that's the
water
end of,
fountain.
that's the end of the circuit. When the poles go further that direction, north, they're fed from across
From-
the
right.
But from right there, all the way around to the front of the bottom of Madeline's,
Right.
they're all fed from out there.
From the water fountain on that way,
Yes.
it's fed from here.
Yes, and there's 2 circuits. They're alternating circuits.
Good.
So other than that, that's about it.